A narcissist without an audience is like a vampire without blood. Your reactions are their drug. When you go no contact, you aren't just leaving. You are triggering a withdrawal that is devastating to their very existence.
Have you ever noticed that the moment you choose silence, suddenly all the drama just explodes?
Hmm.
What if that one strategy, the thing you use to finally get some space from a painful relationship, just going quiet?
Yeah.
What if that's actually the single most powerful thing you could ever do?
Powerful how, though?
Powerful enough to completely dismantle the person who hurt you? We're talking about something way beyond just setting a healthy boundary here.
Okay.
We're actually talking about triggering a kind of, an existential crisis deep inside the mind of the narcissist.
That really is the core of what we're diving into today. We're peeling back the layers on the psychology behind the no-contact strategy.
Right.
Specifically, we're looking hard at its really devastating effect on that highly manipulative personality type.
Devastating is the word.
Yeah. And our mission for you, listening right now, is to help you understand precisely what happens psychologically when you cut off that emotional supply line.
It's crucial, isn't it? Because people often misunderstand their reaction.
Exactly. We're challenging that common belief. The one that says, oh, they genuinely miss you, you as a person capable of real connection. It's usually not that simple.
Not simple at all.
We need to examine their predictable, almost, mechanical reaction patterns that kick in.
Yeah.
And maybe most importantly, look at how your own system, your nervous system, starts to recalibrate back towards actual peace in that silence that follows.
Understanding this, it feels absolutely essential for anyone trying to recover. Because when all that chaos starts up after you go silent, we tend to see their desperate calls, their promises, through the lens of normal heartache or maybe even genuine remorse.
It's natural to think that way.
But if you can see it clearly, if you understand let's say, the clinical reality behind it, you realize it's not about love, not the love they're fighting for.
Yeah.
It's control. It's their addiction kicking in.
That's it. And that's why we're going to break down what we call the 5 stages of control collapse. It's a pattern that, pretty much every narcissist goes through when their main source of that emotional fuel just vanishes.
Knowing these stages helps you see the strategy, right? See it for what it is.
Absolutely. It helps you recognize it as pure pathology, not passion. It helps you hold the line.
Okay, and since this deep dive is really all about relationship psychology, getting those profound insights into these, frankly, toxic dynamics,
Yeah,
we really encourage you right now, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.
definitely. And liking this deep dive helps other people find this kind of crucial knowledge, too.
It really does. And please, let us know in the comments below what other relationship challenge or maybe a specific psychological concept do you want us to unpack next time.
Your input genuinely shapes the material we create. We read those comments.
We absolutely do. Okay, so let's unpack this core dynamic.
Yeah.
The big revelation, the thing that changes everything, is getting what actually drives them crazy. It isn't just your physical absence, like you not being there. It's much deeper. It's their sudden inability to read you anymore. They can't predict your movements. They can't anticipate your reactions. When you stop responding, you're not just a missing person in their life.
Yeah.
You become this unpredictable variable in their universe, which they need to keep tightly controlled.
That's the key.
Yeah.
They can no longer write the script. The script of your life, which they thought they were directing.
And that loss of predictive control, that is the crisis for them, fundamentally.
That lack of predictability is utterly devastating. Because you have to understand, for the narcissist, absolute control over the narrative isn't just preferable, it's matal. It's essential for their emotional survival.
Survival, that sounds extreme.
It feels that way to them. Your silence literally removes their entire frame of reference.
Yeah.
When we say the narcissist lives in a constructed world, we mean that quite literally.
Not grounded in reality, then.
Not in the way most people experience it. They don't navigate the world through genuine emotional connection or, self-reflection. They build an identity based almost entirely on other people's predictable reactions.
So every single interaction they provoke, like every tear you might have shed in the past, every time you got drawn into defending yourself, every time you tried to explain away their confusion, that was all evidence for them.
Evidence, confirmation. It confirms their existence, their power, their ability to manipulate the environment and get a response. It proves they matter because they caused an effect in you.
Wow, so it's a constant feedback loop they need.
Exactly, a closed loop. The moment you go silent, the feedback just stops, dead air. Their whole psychological structure is built on performance.
Performance, like an actor.
Precisely. Think of an actor who constantly needs the audience's ovation, or sometimes even better for them, their emotional turmoil, their gasps, their anger, for the play itself to make sense, for their role to have meaning.
Right.
Once that audience leaves, the stage lights go down. The whole purpose of the performance just vanishes.
And the entire structure collapses inward.
It does. And we absolutely have to differentiate here, talking about the clinical reality of supply.
Okay, the supply. Let's get into that.
When you implement no contact, you aren't just removing your physical presence, like your body not being there. You are withdrawing their most potent drug.
A drug.
Yeah. Your constant stimulation, your emotional reactivity, whether it was positive or negative, didn't matter, that was the drug. You're removing the source of their high.
And that's why the withdrawal is so intense.
Terribly intense.
Right.
One source we looked at draws this really vivid analogy.
Yeah.
It describes a narcissist without an audience, without that supply, as being like a vampire without blood.
Wow.
They begin to decompose slowly. Not physically, obviously, but psychologically. And that's utterly terrifying for them because it forces them, maybe for the first time, to face their own internal emptiness.
That void they spend their whole lives running from.
Exactly. And we really need to clarify what that withdrawal syndrome truly looks like, because it's so important not to mistake this for, genuine heartbreak or romantic loss.
Right. How is it different?
Well, think about it. When a relatively healthy person loses a significant bond, they experience grief. There's a drop in bonding chemicals like oxytocin, vasopressin. They mourn the shared life, the actual connection, the person.
Yeah, that makes sense. It hurts, but it's about the loss of connection.
Right. But the narcissist, they're mourning the loss of a function.
A function, not a
Primarily, yes. Their brain is literally conditioned, wired for continuous stimulation, provocation, drama generation. Because those things, the chaos they create, they generate a massive dopamine hit for the narcissist. It compensates for their deeply unstable sense of self-worth. It makes them feel powerful, alive.
So the silence, the no contact.
It creates this sudden, unbearable vacuum. The dopamine faucet gets turned off. So understand, this desperation you see is not about love. It is strictly about an addiction.
An addiction to power and validation fueled by my reactions.
Precisely. And that's why they interpret your distance, your silence, not as a legitimate, necessary decision you made for your own self-protection.
No, they can't see it that way.
They see it as a challenge to be conquered, or territory that must be immediately recovered. Like you've taken something that belongs to them.
And that perception is what activates them.
That's what activates them into those often bizarre, unpredictable, sometimes aggressive strategies that we're going to detail in those 5 stages.
So just to be crystal clear for anyone listening who's going through this, the absolute chaos that erupts when you go silent.
Yeah.
It is not a sign that they've suddenly realized your true value as a human being. It's not an epiphany about love.
Absolutely not. It's a sign they've realized they have lost their single most effective tool for generating their own internal sense of self-worth. That's the panic.
They're scrambling, desperately, pathologically scrambling, to force you back into the role you played in the script they wrote for you.
Which is precisely why they escalate. They intensify their strategies. They might resort to emotional blackmail, start spreading rumors, suddenly reappear in places they know you frequent.
Oh yeah, the accidental bump-ins.
Exactly. All of this is aimed at generating any response at all.
Yeah.
Because even a negative response, even you yelling at them,
it's better than silence.
Infinitely better. Because it confirms they still matter enough to provoke you. It confirms their existence through your reaction. Your anger is proof they still have power over your emotions.
This is where it gets really fascinating psychologically. The external peace you're finally starting to find, that becomes their internal existential threat. Your ability to just ignore them, to find tranquility, to maybe even start building a genuinely fulfilling life in their absence.
It's the ultimate insult.
It challenges the absolute central narrative of their entire existence. The simple fact that you are okay, maybe even better, that you're moving on. That is the single biggest threat to their carefully manufactured identity.
Precisely. You have to grasp this. The narcissist has meticulously constructed an identity built on the core belief that they are irresistible, unforgettable, impossible to emotionally sideline or ignore.
They need to be the main character in everyone's story.
They require constant affirmation that they are the gravitational center of every single life they touch. So your capacity to ignore them, to find genuine, stable peace without them, It provides irrefutable proof that their fundamental self-belief is, well, a lie.
So when you demonstrate that self-sufficiency, when you're just fine, you're essentially telling them non-verbally that the emotional storm they created was actually containable.
Yes, and that life exists and actually thrives outside of their chaotic weather system.
It's like you're demonstrating that the emperor has no clothes.
That's a perfect analogy from the source material. You really are. And they have absolutely no internal mechanism for existing without that imaginary garment of grandiosity, the one woven from external validation.
So they need you to remain miserable, or at least obsessed.
Ideally, yes, because your suffering confirms their power and importance. If you are peaceful, indifferent, maybe even happy, you are effectively erasing their ability to matter to you.
Which is why the silence is so profoundly threatening. It's not just quiet, it's erasure.
It pushes them into a corner they have spent their entire lives desperately avoiding.
Which corner is that?
The corner of confronting something that absolutely terrifies them. Real emotional solitude.
Okay, emotional solitude. How is that different from just being alone?
It's vital to distinguish this. Physical loneliness, just being physically alone, they can usually fix that pretty quickly. Find a new supply source, a new audience, someone else to react.
Right, they move on fast sometimes.
But emotional solitude, that's the crushing emptiness of being truly alone with themselves without that constant validating mirror of external reactions reflecting back at them who they're supposed to be.
So for someone whose inner world is fundamentally unstable, who, as you said, spends their life running from that internal void, maybe deep-seated shame, that confrontation with the self, with the silence inside, that psychological impact must be just unbearable.
It is often described that way. It sounds like their emotional system is fundamentally immature, almost childlike in its inability to self-soothe or generate its own validation.
It relies completely on outside input.
Entirely reliant on external data input. And so when you, the listener, decide to institute silence, to go no contact, you're not just protecting your present moment.
No.
You are actively claiming the fundamental right to define your own future. You are consciously choosing to stop being the predictable, manipulable, controllable character that they wrote into their mental script.
And when you step out of that predetermined role,
Their internal world collapses because they lose their ability to direct the show. They lose control of the narrative.
the source material had another good comparison here, right? Like a director.
Yeah, it compared it to a director suddenly discovering that the main actor has completely abandoned the script.
Gone off script.
Totally. Decided to just completely improvise their lines, their actions, their ending. It makes the entire show uncontrollable from the director's perspective.
And that loss of directorship, that loss of control over the plot, that's the absolute core of their destabilization.
Which brings us directly to the systematic and often depressingly predictable campaign they launch to try and regain that control.
Because they don't just give up.
Oh, rarely. The narcissist facing no contact doesn't simply accept the outcome. They enter a strategic battle. And understanding these 5 phases of control collapse is maybe the most powerful tool you can have.
Why is it so powerful to know them?
Because it allows you to recognize the manipulation as strategy, not as genuine feeling, not as real love or remorse. And seeing the strategy for what it is, that hardens your resolve like nothing else.
Knowing these stages is basically like having a psychological roadmap for the craziness that's probably about to hit your periphery, even if you're silent.
Exactly. It's what keeps you grounded when they inevitably try, using various tactics, to pull you back into the drama.
Okay, let's break them down. Stage 1.
Right. We begin with stage 1, the escalation of charm, the best offer. This is usually the initial, most calculated move.
The love bombing returns, maybe.
Intensified. They ramp up everything that worked on you before. They try to trigger nostalgia, make you reconsider, make you doubt your decision.
So we're talking about what specifically? That meticulously crafted persona comes back.
Absolutely. You'll see the beautiful messages flood in, the sincere-sounding apologies, although if you look closely, they're often quite vague, avoiding specific accountability.
Right, like, I'm sorry for everything, but not, I'm sorry I lied to you about X.
Exactly. Convincing promises of profound fundamental change. I've seen the light. I'll go to therapy. Things will be different this time. They essentially put the mask back on the idealized version of the person you fell in love with. That mask is at its most potent here.
And the psychological reality behind this charm offensive, we need to be clear.
It's absolutely critical. This is a strategic maneuver. It is born out of pure panic over lost control. It is not genuine reflection. It is not remorse for the harm caused.
So think of it less like a heartfelt plea.
And more like a desperate last-minute salesperson who sees the client literally walking out the door.
Okay.
They pull out their absolute best offer, the lowest price, the free upgrades, throwing in everything they can think of.
Trying to stop the sale from falling through.
Precisely. They use the mask, the charm, that worked best in the past. But the intent is not genuine mutual reconciliation. It is solely about stopping the catastrophic loss of supply and regaining predictability and control.
Okay. But what happens when that charm offensive inevitably fails? Because you, the listener, maintain the silence, which is their worst case scenario.
Right. When the charm doesn't work, we move pretty quickly, sometimes jarringly, into stage 2, the inversion of the victim, guilt weaponization.
Ah, the victim card. The charm turns sour.
Instantly. The narrative flips completely. They transform from the charming suitor into the injured party, the misunderstood soul, the abandoned one. Suddenly, they are the ones suffering the most.
And the tactics here, how does this look?
It involves presenting themselves as suffering deeply, profoundly, because of your cruelty, your coldness, your selfishness, your unfair decision to just leave without giving them another chance.
Oof. This one is particularly effective, isn't it? Especially for people who are naturally empathetic.
Extremely effective. If you feel an inherent sense of responsibility when someone claims you've caused them pain, this is a powerful psychological hook they know how to use.
Because they're basically weaponizing your own empathy against you.
It is incredibly sophisticated manipulation. The entire goal is to flip the script so completely that your perfectly reasonable decision to protect yourself starts to look like an act of unprovoked cruelty or aggression against them.
Wow.
They skillfully convert their emotional problem, their dependency, their inability to function without controlling you into your moral responsibility. They want you to believe that your self-protection is actually a violation of their well-being.
Forcing you to doubt your fundamental right to have boundaries in the first place.
Exactly. They want you questioning yourself, feeling guilty, maybe cracking the door open just to alleviate their supposed suffering.
Okay, so charm fails, victimhood fails because you hold strong. What's next? This feels like it gets darker.
It often does. We then observe the terrifying shift into stage 3, the calculated provocation, seeking any reaction.
Right. If they can't get you back with honey or with tears.
They will try to use fire. They shift focus entirely. It's no longer about winning you back nicely or even guilt-tripping you back. The goal becomes forcing any response from you, even a negative, explosive one.
How does this provocation manifest?
It can look like aggressive messages, maybe suddenly filled with insults or accusations, unjust accusations posted publicly, perhaps on social media, trying to ruin your reputation.
Smear campaigns.
Yeah, or deliberate boundary violations, contacting your family, your boss, showing up unannounced things designed explicitly to make you explode emotionally.
But why? Why would they want your anger? That seems counterintuitive if they want you back.
Because remember, your anger is infinitely better to them than your absolute, crushing indifference. Your silence is the ultimate invalidation.
So anger means they still matter.
Anger means they can still get to you. If they can provoke you enough that you break no more. Contact, even if it's just to furiously defend yourself, to explain your actions, to correct their public lies.
They win.
In their mind, yes. They regain emotional power. They prove they can still push your buttons. They've won that emotional tug of war, even if the interaction itself leaves you feeling devastated all over again. Your explanation, your defense, becomes their proof of relevance.
Silence is truly the only way to win that particular game.
It's the only way to not play their game at all. And when direct confrontation and provocation still fail to breach that wall of silence.
I don't give up yet.
Off and on. They move to stage 4. The desperate search for intermediaries. The bridge.
Ah, the flying monkeys.
Essentially, yes. Unable to reach you directly, they strategically leverage external people. This could be mutual friends, family members, maybe even shared colleagues. Sometimes they even try to rope in professionals like therapists or mediators under false pretenses.
And what's their story to these intermediaries?
They start sharing a carefully polished, highly distorted version of the situation. A version where they genuinely want to fix things, understand what went wrong, maybe even reconcile, but you are the difficult one.
Right. You are the stubborn, unreasonable, or unforgiving one who's preventing this wonderful reconciliation that everyone supposedly wants.
Exactly. And these people, these intermediaries, often become their flying monkeys, as the term goes, often unwittingly. They start carrying messages back and forth, applying pressure.
And the challenge for you, the listener, in this phase
The challenge is that these intermediaries are often genuinely well-meaning people. They care about you, maybe they care about the narcissist too, and they don't understand the underlying dynamics of the abuse or manipulation.
They think they're helping.
They do. They pressure you to just listen, hear them out, be the bigger person, give them closure. They sincerely believe that communication is the key to solving the dispute.
But it's not about a lack of communication.
It's absolutely not. You must hold firm to the realization that the core problem is the structural impossibility of the narcissist engaging in genuine, honest, non-manipulative communication. They are simply using these well-meaning people as tools to pierce your protective boundary. It's triangulation.
So resisting the pressure from intermediaries is key, even when it's hard because you like those people.
It's incredibly difficult, but essential.
Okay, finally, if every single one of these previous tactics has failed the charm, the guilt, the provocation, the intermediaries.
Surely they give up then. Not necessarily give up in the sense of acceptance.
Yeah.
We often observe stage 5, apparent discard with implicit threat, the open door.
Apparent discard, so they seem to move on.
Exactly. They might create a very public, often quite theatrical, display of happiness, progress, showing off how much better their life is without you.
Okay, I think I've seen this one.
This phase is absolutely crucial to decode correctly. This is not acceptance of the breakup. It is not them genuinely moving on.
What is it then?
It is a new, highly strategic form of veiled retaliation. They are essentially broadcasting a message to you, saying, see, I didn't need you anyway, and look what you lost. You'll regret this.
So it's designed to inflict pain.
Pain, regret, inadequacy, maybe corrosive jealousy. They might flaunt a new partner, often secured incredibly rapidly, sometimes before you're even fully out the door, precisely to fill that supply void and to make this public statement.
Right, or showcasing big successes on social media, making their life look perfect.
All performative.
Yeah.
Designed to make you feel like the one who made the mistake. They want you to feel that profound regret.
And the implicit threat part, the open door.
The implicit, unstated condition of this discard is that while they look like they've moved on, they are absolutely keeping the door open for your return. But
there's that catch.
The price for your return has just gone up exponentially. They want you to come crawling back, but only after you fully internalize the feeling that you failed, that they succeeded without you.
So you return with less power.
Much less power, less self-respect, less leverage than you had when you made the brave decision to leave in the first place. It just confirms, again, that the entire cycle from the initial charm to this final discard is purely 100% about maintaining a superior position in the power dynamic. It's never about love.
Wow. Those 5 stages are intense, but incredibly illuminating. Knowing them really does feel like getting a shield.
It helps you depersonalize their actions, see the pattern. Now let's pivot the focus. Let's dedicate some important time to you. You, the learner, the one who bravely instituted the silence.
Okay. What happens on our side of the silence?
Well, it's really important to acknowledge that those initial days, maybe even weeks, of no contact are often genuinely difficult. But maybe not for the reasons you might initially think.
Not because you miss them necessarily.
Sometimes that's part of it, sure, the loss of the familiar. But often the difficulty comes because your nervous system itself was conditioned, trained to operate in a state of chronic hypervigilance.
Hypervigilance, like always being on alert.
Exactly. That constant background noise, you lived with the tension, the need to decode ambiguous messages, anticipating their next mood swing or outburst.
Yeah.
Constantly navigating emotional minefields.
Yeah, that takes a toll.
A massive toll. And then suddenly it disappears. And the resulting silence, the peace, it actually feels strange, almost terrifyingly unsettling at first.
Because calm feels abnormal.
Precisely. That constant noise was chaos, but your body adapted to it as its baseline normal. Your physiological system was consistently flooded with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline because it was constantly preparing for conflict or bracing for impact.
So the silence feels wrong.
It can feel wrong, yes. Almost like the eerie calm before a bigger storm, because your body is still programmed to expect the next wave of conflict. It takes time to remember what a non-chaotic, genuinely peaceful emotional baseline actually feels like. Your system needs to down-regulate.
And this is precisely the time, isn't it, when all those doubts start flooding in, often disguised as rational thoughts.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe I was too harsh. Maybe they really are changing this time. Maybe I misread the whole situation, and I actually owe them an explanation or closure.
We need to be really clear for the listener here. These thoughts, these feelings of doubt, they are not your intuition speaking.
No. They are the painful, confusing echoes of years of emotional conditioning. Trauma bonding, perhaps.
Yeah.
Your system is literally detoxing from the toxicity, and that process can feel really uncomfortable, really uncertain.
There's another analogy for this, wasn't there? About food.
Yes. Think back to that analogy. It's like a person who has only ever eaten highly processed food, super salty, super sugary, full of artificial enhancers.
Yeah.
And then they try a natural, balanced meal, real food. At first, that real food might seem tasteless, bland, maybe even unsatisfying compared to the intense artificial flavors their body was conditioned to crave.
Ah, I see. So the drama was the junk food.
Exactly. Your heart and your mind need time to recalibrate from what some experts call synthetic love, that intense, dramatic, addictive, yet ultimately toxic form of attachment that was established during the relationship. You need to get used to the taste of real peace again.
So those feelings of discomfort, the doubt, that internal panic that maybe something is missing, that's actually confirmation that the toxic conditioning is starting to wear off.
That is such an important reframe.
Yeah.
It's not a sign you made the wrong choice.
Mm-hmm.
The absence of drama is the presence of returning health.
Okay. That's really helpful.
And please hold on to this crucial point. The narcissist's increasing desperation, their escalation through those 5 stages we just discussed,
Yeah.
that is not evidence that you are hurting them unfairly. It's not proof that you should break the silence out of pity or guilt.
What is it evidence of then?
It is the most powerful, irrefutable evidence that your self-protection strategy, your silence, your boundary is working effectively. It shows you have hit them precisely where they're most vulnerable, their need for control and supply.
So if we use that drug metaphor again, their resistance, their intense promises, their manipulation, their anger.
It doesn't mean the drug, your reaction, your presence, is good for them or that they genuinely need it in a healthy way. It just means they are pathologically fighting the loss of their supply source because they cannot imagine functioning without the external fuel you provided.
So their frantic resistance is actually the measure of my successful self-reclamation.
Beautifully put. That's exactly it. And your contact zero, your no contact, is ultimately an act of profound self-reclamation. It fundamentally reconfigures your relationship, first and foremost, with yourself.
How so? How does it change the relationship with myself?
Well, by choosing your peace over their comfort, by prioritizing your healing over their desperate need for control, you establish a powerful internal precedent.
A precedent for the future.
Yes. You are teaching your emotional system, your mind, and your future decision-making processes that you deserve relationships based on genuine reciprocity, stability, trust, love that isn't conditional on your willingness or ability to be manipulated or controlled.
You're drawing a really powerful line in the sand internally, redefining your own worth independent of them.
You are. You're saying, my well-being matters more. And as that silence deepens, as you sustain no contact, something really profound starts happening to the manipulator on the other side of that silence.
What's happening with them internally?
You have to sustain silence slowly, systematically, renders their mental map of you completely obsolete.
Their map.
Yeah, the map they built of your triggers, your vulnerabilities, your likely reactions. They lose the ability to predict you. They can't adjust their strategy based on your response anymore because they are receiving zero data input. Zip, nada.
So they lose the ability to play the game effectively. All those years they might have spent observing you, learning exactly which buttons to push, what words would wound you, what fears to exploit.
That entire complex emotional database they meticulously built up in their head. It's now functionally useless, obsolete software.
Wow. That must be incredibly frustrating for someone who relies on manipulation.
It truly is. Think about it like trying to play chess against an opponent whose pieces you suddenly cannot see.
You're blindfolded.
And worse, their movements have become completely random and unpredictable from your perspective. For a master manipulator, someone whose entire sense of power comes from their ability to read and exploit others, this loss of ability is akin to a slow psychological death.
Their manipulation GPS, as one source called it, has just stopped working.
Exactly. It's offline. And that's why they become erratic, desperate, maybe even nonsensical in their attempts to get a signal, because they can no longer navigate your emotional world with their predictable, destructive tools.
And while they are losing their GPS, what's happening for the person holding the silence? For the listener?
For you, the listener, something equally profound but positive is happening. You often experience the gradual, sometimes sudden, awakening of dormant intuition.
Intuition, that gut feeling.
Yes, after potentially years of questioning your own perception, of being gaslit, of constantly being conditioned to doubt your own reality, you slowly start to remember how to trust yourself again. That inner voice gets clearer.
That sounds like coming home to yourself.
It really does.
Ugh.
The sources used another beautiful analogy here, suggesting you are living in an emotional house with polarized windows.
Polarized windows.
Right. Where everything looked distorted. The light felt unnatural. The true colors of people and situations were hidden or warped. No contact. Contact is like removing those distorting filters.
And letting the real light in.
Exactly. And the real light, the light of truth, a reality of your own clear perception, it might feel initially bothersome, even harsh, for eyes that got accustomed to the dim distortion. But very quickly, you begin to see the true colors again.
You start remembering how to distinguish between what's real, what's genuine, what's healthy.
And what was manipulation disguised as intense, synthetic attachment. You regain your clarity.
And we know, looking back, that the narcissist likely went to systematic lengths specifically to erode that self-trust.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because their certainty, their sense of control was built entirely on your uncertainty. Their feeling of power was directly fed by your insecurity.
Yeah.
They needed you to doubt yourself so you would rely on their version of reality.
And that leads us to the final, maybe most crucial truth of this whole deep dive.
Which is?
No contact, sustained silence, forces them to confront the stark, unavoidable reality that their version of love was never really love at all.
It was a sophisticated, sometimes subtle, sometimes overt form of ownership and control.
And when they can no longer possess you, control you, or dominate your emotional landscape.
They're left facing that internal void we talked about, the void of their own inability to connect authentically, to love reciprocally, to exist without constant external management.
So your choice, your simple, quiet choice of self-love, of prioritizing your own peace.
That becomes the most devastating loss for them, because it removes their fundamental ability to define your reality.
You are choosing your own emotional experience, your own future trajectory. And for someone whose very survival feels dependent on being the absolute center of your emotional world.
That independence you demonstrate, that quiet reclaiming of self, that is the final, ultimate psychological defeat for them.
This independence that you gain, this ability to not just survive, but actually thrive and define your own peace on your own terms.
That is the loss they fear most, more than anything.
Wow. Okay. This has been a really deep dive into reclaiming your emotional power simply through the strategic and incredibly powerful use of silence.
Yeah.
So just to recap the core message, remember, their reaction, the charm, the guilt, the anger, the smear campaigns, it's pathology. It is not genuine passion or love.
Crucial distinction.
Your silence is actually a revolutionary act of choosing yourself, and any resistance you encounter from them, that's not a sign you're wrong. It's proof that your decision is effective. You're cutting off the supply.
And that no contact, that contact zero, it forces the narcissist to finally confront a mirror that reflects the truth they've been avoiding. Without constant external validation, without an audience providing the script and the reactions.
They don't really know who they are.
That void is fundamentally their burden to figure out, not yours to fill anymore.
Absolutely. So if this conversation resonated with you, if you found value in this deep dive, and you want more insightful relationship psychology content delivered straight to you,
now's definitely the time to act.
Please subscribe to the channel right now if you haven't. It really helps us keep creating this material.
And like this video. Clicking that like button helps support the content and, importantly, helps other people who might be searching for this exact knowledge find it. People who need to reclaim their boundaries and understand these really complex dynamics.
It makes a huge difference. And most importantly, we really want to hear from you. Use the comments section below. Tell us what relationship challenge or psychological concept, maybe it's the dynamics of emotional codependency, maybe it's specific strategies for recovering from gaslighting. What do you want us to explore in an upcoming deep dive?
Your input truly does shape our future scripts. We read them all.
We do. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey of knowledge and insight today.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. We look forward to exploring the next topic with you soon.